from the Permanent Library of Aquarian Foundation of Seattle, titled The New Testament, Bible Lesson Number 2, King James Version, by Reverend Walda Solobach for Aquarian Foundation. All rights are reserved. Copyrighted by Aquarian Foundation of Seattle. The complete lesson can be found in the December 2025 issue of the Aquarian Foundation's Psychic Observer and Chimes Journal.
The first translated Bible is called the Douay, or the Latin Vulgate Bible. It was translated into Latin when Rome took over the leadership of the Christian movement. The translation was not too hard to do because the Greeks and the Romans were quite mingled. They used Latin as well as Greek and Hebrew while translating the Bible into English, which was challenging. Today, all ancient languages are remarkably well known. That is so because of the Rosetta Stone discovered by one of Napoleon's soldiers in Egypt. In Egypt, they found the Rosetta Stone with 3 written languages. From studying it, scholars learned the meaning of unknown languages and advanced archaeology. Today, scholars can read the Dead Sea Scrolls with ease after their discovery, which transformed biblical archaeology. The Dead Sea Scrolls are over 2,000 years old and are copies of the Old Testament, except for the Book of Esther, which is still being reconstructed. The age of the scrolls is determined through carbon-14 testing, providing an accurate estimation of their age. Different versions of the Bible, like the American Standard Version, show slight but interesting differences from the King James Version of the Bible. In this lesson, we focus on the New Testament, but we will also explore the Old Testament, especially Deuteronomy, which is related to spiritualism. In Deuteronomy, many false accusations against spiritualism are quoted, but their interpretations are wrong. It's vital for spiritualists to learn the true background. Now let's examine Mark 2 for meaning between the lines. Jesus challenged the rules about the Sabbath and inner worship. Mark 2:23-24 describes Jesus and his disciples plucking corn on the Sabbath, which the Pharisees disapproved of. The old rules, which were influenced by Levitical law, prohibited unnecessary work on the Sabbath. Jesus explained how these laws were outmoded and explained the spirit over form. Pharisees, Sadducees, and Essenes were the main groups then. Essenes preserved scrolls secretly when the temple was destroyed. We know that the Essenes were the occult group, and it was they who kept up the scrolls. It was they who hid the scrolls in the caves when their establishment was torn up and razed, burned, and destroyed by the Roman soldiers in 68 AD. 68 years after the birth of Christ. 2 years afterward, Jerusalem itself had the same fate. It was also destroyed. The Essenes had withdrawn from Jerusalem and from the temple worship because temple worship was so corrupt. Then we have the Sadducees, who were the aristocrats. They were the wealthy people. They were the ones who were the materialists. They would exert their influence and cluster around the Roman authorities and get as much power and influence as what they could get out of being around the Romans. Pharisees emphasized strict law and were outraged when Jesus challenged Levitical law. Mark chapter 2, verse 2. It says, "And the Pharisees said unto him, Behold, why do they on the Sabbath day that which is not lawful?" It was against Levitical law to work on the Sabbath, and therefore, according to the Pharisees, displeasing to God to pick corn on Sunday or on their Sabbath, which was on Saturdays. In Mark chapter 3, verse 2, it says, "And they watched him, whether he would heal him of the Sabbath day, that they might accuse him." In Mark chapter 3, verse 3-4, it says, "And he saith unto the man which had the withered hand, Stand forth, come up to me. And he saith unto them, Is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath days, or to do evil, to save life, or to kill? But they held their peace." The priest could not answer Jesus' questions. They were faced with the essential issue, with spiritual matter in its essence, and they had no answer.